Okay, good morning. Is anyone there to listen and confirm whether you are able to hear me? Good morning to you. I expect that you are able to hear me, and so we'll make a move of where we stopped yesterday. So I'm waiting, maybe one participant at least should join. Then I can go ahead perhaps, or I'll just wait for a minute and then start. Okay, okay. Okay. Uh, so as you have seen in the chat, I have put in the chat what is the topic today. And yesterday we discussed, we completed unit 2, we started unit 3, and by the time we completed a part of unit 3, the time was over. So it is now passing on to the next day, unit 3. So unit 3 continuation we'll have, and we were discussing yesterday about types of news. Uh, yeah, 1 minute. Yesterday we discussed about different elements and what are the news values. We discussed up to conflict, if I remember. Yeah, up to conflict. We discussed what makes news. I mean, what are all the what you call it as the elements of news and news values. So we discussed yesterday. Just to give you a quick recap of what we discussed. We discussed timeliness. We discussed nearness or proximity. We discussed conflict. We also said what actually constitutes a conflict. Okay, dharna by shopkeepers, you know, may maybe by shopkeepers because they're opposing the road widening, whereas there are people also who were saying that road widening is essential. There are two different groups of people who are conflicting on the same issue. So when there is a conflict, it becomes newsworthy. People are interested to know what the two groups are saying, what the two groups are talking, and then they will take a final call on how they listen or perhaps they read the versions of both the people. So another important area where we have got is what is known as the the prominence. We have seen timeliness, proximity, conflict as values that influence in news in making news. Another area is prominence. When somebody is important, it gains prominence. The news, obviously, whether it is good or bad, when suppose some MLA son is involved in that gang rape case, it gives because there is a prominence there. Or maybe somebody who is, you know, somebody who comes and plants a tree in front of your house, who is a VIP, then he makes news. So the more the prominence, the greater the value of the news. So Sonia Gandhi coming to Hyderabad or Modi coming to Hyderabad and doing something has more news value than somebody Jitin Prasad or someone coming to Hyderabad. So it makes all the difference. So when Bill Clinton came to Hyderabad, it made world news. Okay, Chandrababu Naidu took the credit of bringing uh, Bill Clinton. So obviously, when we had Obama's daughter also coming here, Obama's wife coming here, they're going to you know Falaknama Palace and other things and all that. So Rahul, everybody eating biryani in paradise is not news. But when Rahul Gandhi comes to Hyderabad and visits Paradise restaurant and eats biryani, it gives prominence. So that now you understood. I gave you several examples of what we mean by prominence. At the same time, it again depends on sometimes former President Abdul Kalam made the world headlines, but the death of Narayan Reddy was also equally covered say, in newspapers of both the Telugu states. So prominence of Narayan Reddy in two Telugu states is also there because of Narayan Reddy, a great writer, you know. And so is the case with Abdul Kalam, who made world headlines. So please remember, anything that is related to anybody who is prominent also becomes a news value, and it becomes what is known as newsworthy also. Then we have a situation where we can think of what is known as what we call it as consequences and impact. What is the impact that a news makes? So sometimes it's not simply, you know, strike by RTC may not be such a big news, but the strike by RTC for say 1 week definitely is a big news because it impacts a common man's life. So there is disturbance in an ordinary man's life who depends on RTC buses for transport from his office to home or and back. So you must be able to know what are the consequences, what is the impact that happens. Now we all know that the road in Begumpet is closed for diversion because they are doing the strategic Nala development program because monsoon is coming, the traffic is diverted. So what is the impact of the diversion of this traffic? What are the consequences of that? One is you'll have to go an extra mile, and one is you'll have to go slowly, and you will be eagerly waiting when this problem will be over, when they will finish this drainage work. We are almost at the doorstep of a monsoon. So please remember, any strike by transport workers, or maybe strike by railways, or maybe strike by electricity department or waterworks department, you know the kind of impact and the consequences that result because of this particular development. So please remember, this is another important area where we will be, you know, that gives a news value, a significant news value. Similarly, what happens is that sometimes development also, what even sometimes what happens is that the process of development stops because of some things. Okay, particularly in countries like India, where what is the ration shops, public distribution system. Okay, measures to streamline public, eminently publishable. So they want to say for instance, there is a development. Modi is keen that nobody should be, given, no middleman should give money to the poorest of the poor to whom the government is giving benefit. So he believes in DBT, direct benefit transfer. So that is one kind of a development that takes place. What is the development of a particular step that has been taken, say, by the government? So actually, another development reporting is something entirely different. But here we are talking about the value, the newsworthiness of an issue. Now, all of us know that human interest news stories are always there. So when you see all these, so far what we discussed, timeliness, proximity, conflict, okay, and we have also seen consequences, impact, and we have seen development. All these news values, stories pertaining to these values, if you read any newspaper of any day, you will find the stories of what we try to discuss. It can be a story of prominence, it can be a story of timeliness, like that. There is one more important value which is known as human interest. Okay, human interest stories are very, very important. You know, recently, 2, 3 days, 4 days back, UPSC, IAS civils results have come out. And we have seen that the top rankers have made good news. One is they make news because they got good rank, but they also make news because they belong to the poorest of the poor in the society. So some cobbler's son చెప్పులు కుట్టేవాడి కొడుకో, లేకపోతే some auto rickshaw driver's daughter tops in civil services. That is the human interest story. So people are interested in knowing what's happening to other people. I have a student of mine, Haji Naik, who is son of a stone crusher, a scheduled tribe boy. Now he, for instance, got selected for a scholarship abroad. And today he is head of the department of one of the top universities in Arizona. So he is head of the department of that university. He keeps traveling all over the world and delivers lecture on, say, printing technology. So the human interest is how the boy has come up in his life. What is his background socially, in society, in education, in his parental background? All these things do take, they do constitute what is known as human interest. So that is very essential for us to know what constitutes human interest. So another area where you feel anything that is strange, anything that is odd, anything that is funny or humorous, anything that is tragedy. We discussed yesterday about the orange travel bus, a tragedy, or sometimes about a victory. We have seen how the boxer, world boxer, is now a Hyderabad girl. Okay, anything that happens, a car goes very fast and jumps from the flyover onto the ground. Very strange. It doesn't happen. One in a million. But then oddity. Oddity means something which is absolutely unexpected, bolt from the blue. Suddenly, you imagine if cars are going on a flyover at high speed, and suddenly one car is right under the flyover, crossing the parapet wall of the flyover, and then right onto the maybe another vehicle or some people there and killing some people there. That is an oddity. So, humor, tragedy, triumph over handicap. Sometimes even Paralympics gold medals are also won by Indian people. So there is stories involving kids. Kids, I have seen one kid, doing mathematics faster than a computer. He's a wizard boy, a child prodigy, and he is the one who is able to solve faster than the calculator or even the computer. So animals also constitute. Okay, on animals also do. They are very good, but if you try to provoke them, they are very bad. A giraffe, a child was actually feeding a giraffe in a zoo from a bag, but he suddenly he didn't want to feed anymore. But already the giraffe was holding the bag, and then he was trying to pull it down. But instead of pulling it down, the giraffe pulled the boy also. The boy was going up suddenly. Then they tried their best to pull the boy out. Otherwise, giraffe is a very tall animal. If the boy was pulled on a very height of say 10 feet or 20 feet and dropped from there, what could be the consequence? So, for instance, animals also can create a news. An insect can create a news. Okay, a lizard can create a news. Lizard found in Bawarchi Biryani was the other day for a corporator or a ward councillor. He found a lizard in Bawarchi Biryani, and that became a news. So anything that happens out of regularity is also news. And last but not the least is what is known as controversy. People always love controversies. We always, are curious to know how the other two neighbors are fighting. What is anywhere, somewhere you see on the road, two people are fighting, and suddenly 10 people gather around the two people doing nothing but enjoying the fight between these two people. And how many times we have seen controversy? Anything that is connected with conflicts, arguments, charges, counter charges, fights, and tension becomes news. For no reason, third person may get affected, even get killed also. Two people are fighting, but the third person who wanted a fellow like me goes and then tries to क्यों भाई क्यों लड़ रहे हैं आप दोनों तरफ पीछे जाइए. Quite possible I may be beaten by both the fellows also in the process. So, and not only that, a controversy or conflict between India and Pakistan. We are having problem with China now. Okay, anything that is controversy, anything that is um, against, can also generate what is known as news. So many of you remember, for instance, the controversy about the Indian and Australian cricket teams. Or, when terrorists crashed their plane into the World Trade Center, it was lead news everywhere. Okay, that's always news. Then another type of a news is bizarre or out of the ordinary. We discussed this already in oddity. Okay, uh, someone who is a yoga instructor, like a young boy or a girl, like maybe 25, 30 years, yoga man or woman, is okay. It's not news. But you know, imagine if 100-year-old, recently we had, I think he died recently, a 96-year-old Tamilian who was the yoga instructor for quite some time. A 100-year-old lady working as yoga instructor is nothing but an out of the ordinary story. One in a million, maybe 100-year-old lady working as yoga instructor. That is known as bizarre, Bizarre, or out of the ordinary. So you and I learn yoga and we become instructors, it may not be news. But if I am 100 years old and still I am working as yoga instructor, that is not only news, that is also a proof that because of yoga, even after 100 years, I am able to practice and teach yoga. So, like that, these things do happen. And that's how we have seen so many values, news values or worthiness. So, all those issues, all those points are, crucial to make news, to generate news, to create news. Now we'll see what we mean by types of news. Actually, there are two types of news. One is the hard news. Hard news is something which has happened and you have reported immediately. An accident takes place, you reported that's hard news. But if you're writing an article on, in general, so many accidents take place, so many people die, and you want to write an article saying that all because how many people died because of not wearing helmet, how many people are died because of not following traffic rules. When you're writing a detailed feature or an article, then that becomes soft news. You have taken news and then you develop the story around the news and you have written a feature or an article. It is a soft news. Hard news, soft news. So hard news is mostly event centered. Event. It's a narration of an event. So what happened, when happened, why it happened, where it happened, who, whom, for whom it is, and all the so-called what, when, where, who, and why, and how also. That is hard news, which is able to answer the questions. So that what about the soft news? It's something which is where you have done some deep analysis, editorial, for instance, or a feature is also what is known as a soft news. So with this, we have completed what is known as Unit 3. Okay, Unit 3 we have completed. Now we'll see what we mean by the next unit, where you see this the next unit, and I'll let me present it to you. Okay, I'll just present it to you. There are no participants today, but let me share the screen of this. Then UG4. Okay. Okay, I'm sharing it. I can't confirm also because there are no participants today. So I'm sharing the Unit 4, and we will see today what we mean by sources of news. Okay, one is we discussed in Unit 3 everything about news. What is news? The meaning of news, the concept of news, the definitions of news quoted by Pulitzer or Bogart. We have seen all those definitions of news, and we have also seen what are the elements of news or the values that make any issue or a story newsworthy. With this, we discussed a lot on that, like timeliness, proximity, conflict, controversy. We discussed a lot of values, and now we are moving forward with that. So we know now what is news. Okay, we know what is strange news, what is oddity, what is bizarre. We have seen with various examples different types of news. We have also seen hard news, soft news. One of the most important things we should know is that from where is this news coming? Who is giving us the news? How are we getting the news? What are the sources of news? From where are we getting? That's the thing. We always need to know who has given this news, from where it has come. Many times you will be asking this question. A simple question when you go and as a tourist, you go when you see a waterfall, you'll have curiosity from where is this water coming? So you may try your best to explore, but you'll never know, but it's coming from somewhere, it's coming continuously. But that is not how we describe the source of news. In case of news, you will have to go. In case of waterfall, you may see the water is falling. Okay, you're enjoying the scene. You ask some people, where is this water? Some people may say it's coming from Brahmaputra and all that. The Niagara waterfall comes from 5 hours, almost 4 hours of journey. It travels, the water keeps traveling nearly 4 hours. As you drive in the car, you find this so many rivers merging, and then the whole thing dumps in Niagara Falls. I mean, it's one of the wonders of the world. But you can try to see the source of news, from where you're getting the news. Everybody is very keen to know from where you're getting the news. So in journalism, source is very important. It can be a person, it can be a document, it can be a book, it can be a publication, it can be a press release, okay, it can be anything. So all from where you're getting the information is known as news sources. So there are what is known as news sources, from where you're getting the news. This is very important for us. So don't think that you get news only from one source. You get news from various sources, multiple sources. So many people give you news. Now let us see how it happens, how it actually goes. One of the best ways of news is just listening. You are a reporter, you want to report some news, you're actually going towards the office, and suddenly in the bus, in your next seat, somebody is discussing about some accident. Then you have listened. Now your listening is a source. Your eyes, your ears are open, sharp, alert, smart. Your eyes are already there. And then when you are listening, suddenly you hear or overhear a conversation between two passengers. One of them is saying there was a terrible accident in the town. A school bus overturned, 20 children were taken to hospital. So reporter suddenly smells some news. He gets a tip off. 1 minute. 1 minute. Akshat, I'm in a class, Akshat. I'll just call you at 11:30 if you don't mind. So this is where we should know people. Just by listening, you can get news. Okay, sometimes what happens, two politicians are talking, and then you are there by the side. Okay. Akshat, Akshat, I'm in a class, Akshat. Can I talk to you at 11:30 if you don't mind? I'll just I'll just tell you at 11:30 if you don't mind. So a reporter can get a news just by listening. He can just listen and get the news. So he may ask, he may have lots of questions now. He may not ask those passengers because passengers will suddenly become silent. But he may go there to the spot where the passengers were discussing some accident took place near Abbott's, some school bus. So you can go and find out which school bus was involved, how many children were injured, were there any people who died, or which hospital they have been admitted, where they were taken, how they were taken, did the parents come? All the questions, answers you can easily get. So sources of news means it can be anywhere. Simply by listening, you get the news. So quite possible the reporter will go there. He may inform the photographer to come and take the pictures. So the next day's newspaper is able to carry some good photographs about the accident, a good story the reporter is able to write. So another area where you can bank upon getting news is academic journals. There's a lot of news there. Scientific journals, research journals, international journals. It is a source of news stories. So something you want to develop a story, already you got some news, but you want to get some more information, definitely academic journals is another source of news stories. So he is able to spot a potential story. He may see 10 stories. He may see one particular thing may be really interesting, which is relevant. Okay, it may be related to COVID, Corona, it may be related to something new. It may be related to monkeypox, which is now actually threatening in our country. Monkeypox in Kerala. So there are some. You have a journal, and then you find some article is there on monkeypox. Then you try to take that as a source of information, and you can in your story quote that according to this so and so journal, science journal, monkeypox. You are giving some additional information to the reader in addition to the news. Similarly, there are many reports and statements that keep coming from parliament, from government, from courts. You have a lot of information. It's something like a gold mine. So you get a lot of major source of news items. Then lots of commissions and committees are there. So there are so many standing committees, parliamentary committees, assembly committees. So they may also release press releases. Sometimes leaders, businessmen, Confederation of Indian Industry may give a press release, may give a report, may give a statement. Or Adani may release a press release. Adani may say that 70,000 crores is going to invest somewhere X place. So anything that is in the form of a statement, in the form of a press release, in the form of a report can also become a source of news. Then one of the most important source of news is police. I have seen reporters going to police station every day and they ask police, sir, ever kotta crime ainda? Ah, yes, there was a rape case there was a murder case there. So you go and collect the FIR copies or all the details of the story. Then you may go to that place also. You may interview people there. You may make a story out of that. Police is one of the best sources of information, particularly about crime, accidents, thefts, scams, cyber crimes. All those things, for instance, are the best sources. Law and order, section 144, curfew. The other day, Amalapuram had a problem. They burnt a minister's house. They burnt an MLA's house. It was an unexpected thing. Suddenly, some thousands came, and then there was an arson, looting, and vandalism and violence. So, police source is the best place to get information, to create news. Or you can also go to some place in arts college. Some 2,000 students gathered there. They wanted to take a rally. There are many activists there. They want to campaign. They want to talk something against the government because the hostels are not good. The food is not good. The girls are not safe. There is a rally or there is a protest. There is a campaign in a university that becomes a source of information. Because these activities, they try to influence public opinion. Okay, it can be human rights issue, it can be animal rights issue, like environment and other things also. So it depends on how you consider a news as a news. So this is also an area where campaigns, any protests, it can be a health campaign also. It can be a free health campaign. You get news there. It can be a protest. You get news there. It can be a rally. You get news there. It can be a 10K run led by Mahendra Reddy DGP. Or activists, RTI activists are taken to streets because RTI information, they are all getting killed because you are asking an inconvenient question to a government or to about a contractor. So there are many areas where they also become sources of information. You know, last 2 years, 21 and 22, we had COVID, and at that time, health authorities and hospitals were the best sources for the reporters to gather news, to gather information, to keep the public informed. Hospitals, how many people are coming, how many people are dying, how many people are getting discharged. So you are in a position to judge that. So hospitals are sources of good news stories. They carry news about cures or new treatment, new vaccination. Okay, maybe a very good, a successful operation, surgery. Somebody donated a child the other day, 9-year-old child, donated all his organs because he was brain dead. His family donated all the organs. Then you will obviously go to the hospital and find out how you have helped, how many people were helped because of the donation of these organs by this boy. Heart, kidney, liver, eyes, okay. Anything that could be possible. How many people have benefited because of one 9-year-old boy dying and then his family donating all the organs to that but hospital. So health authorities, hospitals make a good story. They make a good human interest story. That is also known as human interest story. So, and all of us know all these things we see when you open a newspaper. I want each one of you to read a newspaper. If you want to become a journalist, whether it is in any media, if you don't read newspapers, I don't think you will be really able to become a journalist. So, one of the most bottom line for any journalist is to read papers regularly without missing an issue. Better if he reads more than one paper, maybe an English and Telugu paper. If he knows two languages, he should be able to read two papers. Spend about an hour on reading newspapers alone, then he will be able to know so much of information and he will be able to understand who is giving news and where is this reporter getting the news. That's what we try to discuss so far about various sources of news. So is the case with entertainment industry. All of you know entertainment industry. Entertainment industry is the place where you know everybody is interested to know about what is happening. The other day we have seen how Viswaksen on a TV debate, he used a four-letter word and he was asked to get out by Nagavalli, the anchor of TV9, and that became a big news. But that picture also became popular because of that controversy. So entertainment industry, you get very good news. You can get in touch with singers, musicians, um, directors, producers, actors, heroes, heroines, comedians. So you're in a position to have that as a source. So films, serials, and various other programs gain only if media has been highlighting them. So most of these people in the entertainment industry also benefit from the coverage that is given in the media. So you all know that family members and close relatives are film stars are good sources of information. Most of the news that we get about actors, their private stories are mostly from their relatives or friends. Close relatives of film stars, they do give some masala. It may be reliable or may not be reliable, but that is also a source of information, which we call it as entertainment industry. Another important area where you can easily get is it is not even end news వస్తుంది. Lot of information can be taken from white and yellow pages of telephone books. I don't know if you know what is a telephone book or a telephone directory. Of course, now they are outdated. Till recently, maybe till 2000, we used to have bulky telephone directories, alphabetically arrange all the names and all that. So you are able to, with the help of telephone directories, which are now available online, you're able to know who is who, where is he staying, what is his phone number, contact number of various prominent people of any city offices. Now we are only Googling now. We are not having telephone directors. We just Google. So anything you want, you just Google. I want to know the phone number and location, GPS location of Vijaya Diagnostic Center, AS Ranagar. I have to just type what I want. And I'm able to get, and I can use that as a source. I can go, maybe I'm doing some story on diagnostic tests, and then I want to visit a couple of diagnostic services places, okay, like Vijaya Diagnostic or some other diagnostic pathological laboratories. Where do I get the information? I can go to telephone directory or I can go to Google, and that becomes my source of information. And I want to contact a very good dentist who is a prominent dentist in city. There is a Gaud there who is there near Sentence. He has a unit there. He's a very popular man. He treats all top people like president and prime minister and all that. So I can go to him and make a story also. So he becomes a news source for me. But how did I get his name? from telephone directory. The telephone directory becomes a source for me. Similarly, we can get from government, from assembly, or from courts. We can get a lot of information, of what's happening in the courts, what's happening in the government, what's happening in the legislature. If the central government press information bureau gives out news releases, press statements, and that becomes your source of news. That may not be, you may not agree with what is given by, say, by the government, but you will at least have some authentic information. So you are able to decide on the merits of that. Any official information that comes from government, okay, is also a source of news. So please remember, it will also give in the statement for further details. Please feel free to contact our PRO who is available. Rail Nilayam, for instance, on second floor. You can available, his number is so and so, his name, number, WhatsApp, Twitter, Instagram, all accounts you are able to give, and so that somebody is able to contact him and get some new information. So C becomes a source. Now MMTS, they want to double the services. Now they are very keen. The Telangana government is also going to give money. A new MMTS services are going to be opened. Then who is your source? PRO of your railway, rail LM is the source of information. Now he is a government servant. He is able to give you that kind of information. So whatever you are able to get, any kind of information, is what we call it as the sources of news. Another area is best is to go to those secretaries. I can now stop sharing because I finished my. Okay, let me see if I can try to get it. Yeah. Okay, I'll stop sharing now. Then we will see. We'll just continue the sources of news. It can be government, legislature, judicial. There are always many people who are working as assistants. They're all normally known as secretaries. There are secretaries to officers in government departments. You know that secretary to IAS officer, commissioner. You can go. He may be a PS or he may be a secretary, or it may be an assistant. He may be an administrative assistant. So you can contact those people. They are also your good sources of information, and they help you get updated information, latest from government departments. Something is happening, they may give you a leak. They may give you a tip, some information they may give, okay, half-baked information, but still you are able to get some, you can use him as a source of information. So at state level, for instance, Department of Information Public Relations is a government body which keeps sending the press statements, but those people can be of some help to you. So in the case with Press Information Bureau, if it is Central Government of India. So at various levels, you have got the sources. If it is Parliament, you always have, I remember working there in Delhi for 3 years, and then I could make out who in Parliament, who is, treated as a source of news, like Joint Secretaries, Additional Secretaries, Secretary General. You can also try to contact them. And you can also visit courts and see, like you visit police station, you can really visit courts, but you have to be careful in courts. You can't allow your mobile phone ringing when the court case is going on. The judge will seize your cell phone, so you have to be very careful. Keep the phone silent. Don't answer any phone calls. And if some court case is going on, you can get background material. Amaravati capital issue, you can get a lot of background material in the court. You can also get the quotes from victims. So many people who have suffered as farmers have lost their land, you can ask them. But there are some people who are saying they may have not lost anything, it was actually a benefit. You can take that view also. So they are all your source of information. Another source is corporate bodies. All these corporate companies are there who are dealing daily with mutual funds, a SIP. Okay, SIP is one kind of an investment, systematic investment process or something. Okay, SIP is there, mutual funds are there, shares are there. So you can also try to get in touch with corporate offices. So, and who are the people who will be able to help you from a corporate, the CEO, the chief executive officer, or the CFO, chief financial officer, or the PRO of the corporate body can be a good source of information for you. Nowadays you don't have any time to go personally because everything is nowadays online and people are not encouraging person to person contact. Sir, you don't worry, you don't have to come to my office. I'll send you a attachment or I'll send you a file online. I'll send you or it's there on our website. Please go through. So online sources also is a source of news. Okay, we have lots of people who can make use of so many things and is able to get the information. Okay, so for example, if you want to find who earns the highest salary in each department of central and state government, okay, you can get a printed version also, but you can also go to database and try to get that information. So another source of information, news, is when someone conducts a press conference. A press conference is the place where, you know, somebody wants to speak to the press. He immediately convenes a press conference so that he will be able to answer any questions that are asked. KCR convenes a press conference, goes on for 3 hours at a stretch. He is not afraid of the press. He is ready to answer any question posed to him, and he may reply with anger, with humor, with emotion. He is able to answer. It's not so with everyone. Modi is being criticized because he never addresses a press conference. But press conference is a good source of information, source of news. So Manmohan Singh was also there. For instance, he addressed a few press conferences, but he never cared. He never was never afraid of addressing the press. He answered every question posed by them. So press conference is a good place where you ask questions also. So press conferences are held by whom? Politicians conduct press conference immediately. You know that how the TRS, the BJP, the Congress conduct press conference regularly. Revant Reddy, Bandi Sanjay, KTR. Then the press conference is also held by bureaucrats. Jayesh Ranjan may convene a press conference. Recently, he returned from Davos. So he and KTR went there. They brought in 4,200 crores of investment. So Jayesh Ranjan, who is the IT secretary, can call for a press conference and he becomes a good source of information. So is the case with sports teams. The sports team recently we have seen with that boxer returning with a medal. So obviously they become, she and her PRO become, very important for us to. So they can conduct press conference, what are the difficulties they faced, what is the racism they faced, but yet how she is able to catch or grab the gold medal. So she can also convene a press conference. BCCI can convene a press conference. Hyderabad Cricket Association can convene a press conference. Celebrities can convene a press conference. There's nothing to worry. There has been a rumor in social media completely that Sai Pallavi is getting married, but she can call a press conference and say all those things are rumors. I will myself tell you when I am ready for marriage. I will myself tell you in the press. So, for instance, press conference becomes a very good source of news. So, a lot of attorneys are there. Shashi Bhushan is there. Prashant Bhushan is there, who is ready to convene a press conference. Judges are there sometimes who do conduct a press conference. We had one very good team of about four judges who convened a press conference against the tradition, but they became a very good source of information of how actually the courts operate, function. So they were very critical of their own codes for which they were working, and they expressed their anguish, their anger through a press conference. So that press conference becomes a source of news. So where do they conduct these conferences? Normally in a hotel conference rooms, because they don't simply conduct a press conference that is followed by maybe lunch or dinner or sometimes even cocktails or even press clubs you can conduct. Hyderabad, so much you're gonna we have a press club where anyone can go and really can convene a press conference there. So it can be on disaster, it can be on court, or it can be on anything that he want to have. Jagan Mohan Reddy returned from Delhi after meeting Modi, and he feels he has to tell something to the people. Then he may call a press conference. So how do you get the most out of the press conference? So what is that? So you can try to make a list of questions for which you can, for which you could look for answers. Not necessarily that you should ask the questions, but you can also make a note of, what questions are asked and how they were tackled, how they were addressed, how they were answered. So you can also make all entire list of who is speaking, who is making announcements, and everything. So another, as we said, is listen carefully. Everything has to be listened carefully, and that is how we can. And then frame questions clear and brief. If you are going to ask the question, then let it be clear and brief, and it should not bring down the reputation of your newspaper or channel because your question is poorly framed. And Gary KCR always makes fun of even journalists. Em question ayanu, em adugutunnao? Neeku telusa nu em adugutunnao? Neeku soy unda? So that's the kind of language he uses. If you don't ask proper question, good question which has some meaning, which has some sense, which serves some purpose. So in press conference, when you want to source more information, you should go with proper questions, apt questions. So your question should be very clear and brief, not a lengthy question. So we will ask you, we will tell you, and normally one question. Some people are, sir, I have two questions. Normally one question is good to ask, and you should be the question should be brief. Question cannot be bigger than the answer. Let's suppose you may give an answer of 4 minutes. Your question can't be 6 minutes. Because people will get bored and he will not have that kind of a time to spend. So your question kluptanga undali, straightforward undali, to the point undali, donka tirugudu undakudu. You should be a straightforward, honest, brave question. Now these are all the things which you have to keep in mind, and then ask one question at a time. Let him finish answering, then ask another question later. If you ask at a time 2 to 3 questions, he may miss the sequence. So conducting a press conference is not that easy, but then at the same time, attending a press conference is also not that easy. Okay. हेलो, मैं थोड़ा क्लास में हूँ, अभी 10 मिनट में फोन करूंगा मैं. So we have to have one question at a time. You also see that to whom you're talking, you're taking the name properly. You must take the name properly, use the name properly, quote that name properly. He's R. Pathsarthi, but actually his name is N. Pathsarthi. The next day when you put R. Pathsarthi, sir, na pair R betnown and N gadani, which means that's a mistake of yours. So be very careful, be sensitive to people. Nagarjuna ki Nagarajan anaddu, levita Nagaraju anaddu. So they may get offended. I may get offended if my name is not properly published in the newspaper, because it may be, somebody will think it's some other person. So you'll have to be very careful also. What I am trying to say you is that press conference is a good source. It is a good source. It's the best source if you are in a position to really exploit that source. If you are in a position to actually ask the correct question and you are able to get the answer and then maybe record it and then see that you have done your job professionally. Another source of news is your own personal contacts. These are very, very important. Okay, there is a very big news, say, from say Usmania Hospital. If you have some personal contacts there, maybe you have some friends as doctors or house surgeons, then they are very important. Your personal contacts are more important. They will be able to give some, useful tips, useful information, important information, which the head of the department may not give you officially because he's a government servant. But if you have personal contacts, you know some doctor, Sarat. So you call Sarat and Sarat na kuch information. But Sarat may don't tell my name, but I will tell you the information. So personal contacts will help you to gather information, to make your story interesting. Or sometimes if you know the head, or sometimes if you know the junior doctor, Hare, can please take me to the head of the department, tell him that I'm harmless and I will do my job just for information. Then that person with whom you had a contact may influence him and may give you that kind of an audience. So please remember, It is only not only to the people. You should also be able to have, you know, who you must also know who are the leaders of groups in your community and society. Don't limit your sources only to the people. You should also try to know initial sources also. So once you have contacted a source, ask him about the situation. Ask him that is if it's going to be controversial, that his name will not be taken. His identity will be protected. His anonymity will be taken care of. So you will be able to also not simply take the views of a person. Suppose you have come to my office as a reporter, you know me, I have given my version. But my version is one side of the coin. So you don't have to, you also go to the other guy who may give the opposite side of what I'm trying to say. So a good reporter will take both the sources, information, and then publish in his story. So never try to be, if you do both versions in favor of and against, then you are actually an impartial reporter. You are in a position to put both sides of the story. Let the reader decide, let the reader take a call on how it should be. So that's very, very important for us when you are able to have your personal contacts also. So posting on the internet, suppose I write a blog, you can also see my blog and see if there is some useful information on something. I wrote on Bandit Sanjay, I wrote on movie review, I write on something or something which is related to the story you're making. You can see the blogs of anybody, somebody, or see Facebook. Sometimes you may get hidden information from there. So social sites also. So you'll also be getting clarity, clarification. Raghunandan Rao gave some TV conference. You can also check in Twitter. What did he say? So you can also take that as a source of information. Then another important thing is how do you develop these sources? How do you develop it? How do you keep them in touch? Keep them in good humor. No need of maskabaji, no need of makar lagane ka nahi hai, but you be in touch with them so that they don't forget you. You're a journalist. Be in touch with them. They may be useful for you later in giving you some tips or suggestion and complaints, whatever it be. So keep their phone number and email address. Give them your cell number also. They too will be needing you. Not you alone need them. ఇక్కడ ఘోరం జరిగిపోతుంది సార్ ఇది చూడండి సార్ ఇది 10 మంది తెలియాలి and he may call you. At that time you will be really be able to do a great thing. And at the same time, you try to see that you are honest. Never mislead a source. So be honest about the direction of a story is taking. So whether it's a negative story, okay, don't put your own masala in it. Because your people will not give you the news next time. They will not be. So you have to be very honest, straightforward. You should not be harmful to your sources. You should protect your sources. And sometimes the sources are not, then try to find new sources. New people keep joining, some people keep retiring. Your source might have retired, so I develop a new source. Or get in touch with that and tell him, sir, me retire అయిపోయినా next day ఎవరిని కలవచ్చు నేను మీ ఆఫీస్లో ఇంకెవరు నా source. He or she may give you some contacts. He may introduce you. వీడు మనోడే ప్రస్తోడు కొంచెం ఇంకేమైనా ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ ఉంటే ఇవ్వండి. He's doing a very good job. He's a good journalist. He's impartial. He serves the society. He helps the people. So such things can be done, carefully. At the same time, also try to check where the records are. From where can you get the records? That's very, very essential for us. So suppose you are looking for some 1990 story, 1990 document from a government office. The government will tell లేదండి 30 ఏళ్ళ బ్యాగ్ది మా దగ్గర ఉండదు అది ఆర్కైవ్స్లో ఉంటుంది. So you have to go to Tarnaka. There is a department of archives. You have to go and tell them, sir, it is an archive. I want to know so and so paper, so and so file number. Can you please give me that information? So try to know where the records are, be it your digital archives, be it your publication archives, newspapers, magazines, or anything. So you'll have to be very careful about that. Also, look for experts. When you're trying to write something on something, try to contact the experts. So you want to write something on knee replacement surgeries, your story is on that. Maybe you can try to contact some eminent people, Guru Reddy or somebody else. Or maybe for heart specialist, you can try to contact Prem Chand or somebody else. So try to find experts also in that particular field. So you want to know about power generation, expert is Prabhakar Rao. He's the managing director. He will be able to give you better information because he's an expert. Or try to catch hold of some senior engineer from NTPC or Power Grid when you're doing a story. So you will be able to develop these people. You should develop these sources. And not only from your own area, national associations are there, academic experts are there, federal agencies are there. All these people will be able to give. And always track your sources. Where are they? Are they still there? Get their phone numbers. Have the phone numbers changed? Do they have a direct number? Will they give any cell phone? Everybody won't give you cell phone. Home phone, or if he's on vacation, personal phone or email addresses. And also try to keep the names of all these people, your sources, secretaries, maybe their spouses, children, maybe anyone can be of some help for you. And when you are able to contact the sources, try to tell them whether he can give any document for you. If you have a document, you are a safe reporter. Tomorrow they should not say, no, that reporter is totally lying. But you can always say, I am not lying, here I have the document. So some good sources also help you with documents. They give you documents to provide verification. They give you all the details so that they strengthen, enrich the story given by the reporters. At the same time, don't become too close to your sources. Your source is only for information. Maintain harmonious relationship, dignified relationship, but don't go beyond that. Don't make it a daily too close, and then quite possibly he may exploit you. He may take undue advantage, or you may take undue advantage. But your job of a reporter will go, unprofessional if you do that. So don't get too close to them, but be at the same time courteous, be in constant touch, but that doesn't mean too close. Don't trespass into his private area and allow him also to trespass into your private area. So you'll have to clearly demarcate your professional lines and your personal lines. If you try to blend these two, then there's bound to be a reaction. There's bound to be a problem for you or for both. And ultimately, the profession gets affected. So don't make it too this thing. Another source of information is observation. Sometimes you can go and just simply remain silent and keep watching what's happening. Keep watching what's happening. So go to an examination center and just keep watching what's happening. In Bihar, you know what happened, how the TVs are captured, how the paper bits were handed over through the windows. Ladder dal ke window mein se sab log ko, the mass copying was going on. Don't do anything, just keep observation. Wherever possible, try to, capture them in your camera or anything. But in the process, don't get caught. Why are you in this area? So they may say, so observation means what is it? Keep your eyes open, keep your ears open, and you should have the nose for news. You should be able to smell news. So with this, we have covered a good number of sources. We have sources, other sources also that I will take care in the next class. Unit 4 will complete next 4, and then 5 we will enter the next class. That will be on. Of course, today is. We have again class only on 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. Other 4 classes. Okay. With this, we have finished the class today, and I hope we'll be able to catch up again in the next class. It's now almost 11:29. Maybe with another 1 minute. Since there are no participants, I'm not expecting obviously any questions. If you have anything, as I said, please WhatsApp. I thank you very much. I'm now closing the class. Okay, thank you.